Welcome, everyone, to 2022, and Trek Talk is back at it. I'm TechMan16.
I'm Strange Kirk.
And I'm Handy. And Happy New Year.
Guys, enjoy your break.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's not bad.
That's good. I was working the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know, like I enjoy the holidays mostly for the kids. You know, like New Year's, we spent like sitting at the house, like playing video games. Like those, like we didn't really, running out and getting hammered and spending hundreds of dollars to celebrate a calendar turning pages isn't. I don't know. It's just not my bag.
Well, I went to the snow and let my dogs play like sled dogs.
Well, it's because that's what the fuck they are.
I know. It was fun though.
Was it fun? Did they enjoy the snow? I mean, they're Huskies, right? So they must love it, right?
Oh yeah, they freaking love it.
Had they ever seen snow before? Because I could even imagine, even if you're meant for the snow, you see it and you're like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh yeah. I mean, they've all been to the snow before.
No, okay.
I take them up there every winter usually.
I had a friend of mine had a Great Pyrenees, and they lived in the South, and which I don't. I think if you live in the Southeast or somewhere in an extremely hot climate, and you have a big fluffy dog, I don't think that's right. But that's another conversation. But so he would, it was an indoor dog, but they went to visit some family that he had up north, and it snowed. And he said the dog was just looking at the snow and looking back at him like, dude, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't understand.
It's funny. Almost like my dogs knew instinctually, like they just started tromping through it.
Yeah, it was almost like, man, I'm built for this.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Except Titan cut his foot on some ice, I think. Just a small cut.
I always love it when they when like dogs go up on a hill and realize there's no structure to the hill and then just fall through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did plenty of that.
Anyway.
All right, so we got a whole year's worth of gaslighting to do, and throwing people under the bus, and feelings are hurt. And anyways, take it away, guys. What's going on with this NONA and Dark split?
Well, apparently there's been people in Dark that have been trying to split up the alliance for a long time, and their argument isn't that they want to do anything other than have people to play against. In regular PvP and stuff, they're tired of being told, "Oh, you can't touch them; they're allies," and then they want to be able to raid our players and our allies or our sister alliances. So that's their reasoning, and they do a council thing, and they voted apparently, and apparently the vote passed. All this done while not talking to us at all. So that was a little annoying. But other than that, not a big deal. If they had talked to us, we probably would have said the same thing because other players in our alliance have said the same thing. So, whatever. But their plan is they don't think anything's going to change, is what they've told us.
Sorry, Tech. Nothing really profound here, man. No falling out or anything. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. But we'll see. I mean, I'm sure it'll turn into conflict because that's
Do we have a dark side of the story here?
But that is their side. That's exactly what they told me.
So internally, they said that we want to raid NONA again, and so
I don't think it was. I don't think it was necessarily like specifically we want to raid NONA. I think it was just more opening up the board to have more people to be able to hit more targets with more resources and things like that.
Also, what was mentioned is they feel the game has gotten boring for a lot of people, and they want to put some excitement back in. And I get that.
And it has. It has.
So,
So did they just break off the alliance with Nona, or did they break off their own internal alliance as well as the one with Nona?
Just Nona.
Just Nona.
Just Nona.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you got to think with doing that with Nona, it also kind of frees up the board for Salt and
Well, in TC sort of stuff, we're still going to back each other.
What?
So we won't be going after each other's team's territories. We won't be hitting ISO for either team. And if we need each other for TC battles, we'll be there.
So this is just for anything other than territory space.
Correct.
All right. That sounds exciting.
You don't sound too excited.
That really sounds like there's no difference.
I mean, and that's what Chemo was saying. Or was it Kevin? I don't remember. I was talking to one of them, but I think it was Chemo. I was basically saying he doesn't think much is going to change.
No, it's not.
Aside from a few of their players, wanting to be able to raid or knock out a NONA 0 node, or you know what I mean? Just normal gameplay stuff that you run into situations where, oh, I can't hit that player because it's NONA. And now they don't have to do that. They can just clear a 0 node, regardless of who it is, or, raid a base if they come across one, shield or share, etc.
Yeah.
Although, speaking of shield or share, apparently MBD has decided they're going to go to, or was it MBD? I think it was MBD. Maybe Strange Kirk can correct me if I'm wrong. It was either MBD or Die. Decided that if you raid their base, they're going to KOS you.
I want to say I don't think that's. I don't know, man. I don't think that's. I didn't hear anything about
I
it.
don't
I haven't seen anything
think
about
that
it.
was their intention, honestly, but they basically came in and started hitting a bunch of ships and bases and stuff, and because Trojan raided somebody or tried to raid somebody. It's just the overreaction to what Trojan does is absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen somebody so singled out and cause people to get so butthurt so fast.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it off air a little bit, and you were saying that apparently he allegedly is going to quit the game or something.
Correct.
Well, and then we're talking about how feelings got hurt or something like that. But I had brought up the fact that, and you just said it. I mean, if you want to talk about someone who has been attacked, and excluding Chef, of course, Chef has had some just people that don't even have never had an interaction with him of just the hateful things that they've said. So we're excluding Chef here because we all know that Chef gets plenty of unreasonable hate mail. And the vast majority of it is, as a matter of fact. But moving on, as far as a tradition, I will say traditionally ROE player, man, TM Trojan has definitely had just some of the most outrageous things. Like if I were to tell you, if you didn't know anything about this game and I were to try to explain it to you, you would think I was making it up. But just lying about him. And I don't know if it boils down to people with really weak accounts that are jealous that he has bigger ships or something, so they can't get to him in the game, so they're going to try to ruin his reputation or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, I don't think it has so much to do with hurt feelings. It's just being sick and tired of people. I could do some of the same things he does, and people would send me laughing emojis. But if he does it,
Exactly.
it's the end of the world. And I have done some of the same things that he's done. Go through territories and crack bases. I've got a couple little sour notes, but nothing outrageous. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people were like, guess I'm going to have to shield in TC now, LOL or something. It's mostly been positive. But because he does it, it's the end of the world. And
Because of his ops level.
because of his ops level.
We've fostered and allowed the server as a whole to look at a higher ops level and say they're bullying us. They're way too powerful. They shouldn't be doing that. And people are actually listening to them, and higher level people are listening to them. So what's happened is rating has become not very important high ops level. So it doesn't happen anymore. So people aren't used to it. So when somebody high ops level decides to do it, people get all affronted and are like, why is this person doing this? They're such an asshole. They have no reason to do it. Well, the fact is it's still part of the game, and it's still enjoyable for people, regardless if they get something out of it or not.
Yeah,
it just doesn't fucking matter. Their motivations are their own. Fuck you for judging them. They should be able to do whatever the F they want within the rules of their alliance. As long as they're following their alliance ROE, they should be able to do whatever the F they want.
Well, it's the ad hominem stuff that gets me. For example, if we agree to a rule, I'll use an example. I'll use myself as an example, because so I don't want to single another situation out. But we have this ISO agreement, and somebody from RMU hit me with a cloaked ship. Well, there was a glitch in the game for a while, and even if you were cloaked, when you logged in, the little ticker across the top of the screen would still tell me who you were. So we were able to figure out, and I'm handy. I'm sure you remember this. We were able to figure out who it was, and the situation was resolved. It was handled very well, so no big issue there. But it was one of those things that my response was, "Hey, I thought we were part of this agreement. If we're not a part, if you all are not participating in this agreement, then that's fine. I will respond accordingly and start to hit your ship's OPL. But if you are, then so in other words, I wasn't angry at the person. I wasn't angry at all. It was one of those things like, I will adjust my gameplay toward you accordingly, and there were no hurt feelings. But some people, it becomes, this person did this, so that must mean they're a horrible person in real life. And the two aren't the same. There are some people that we know in this game that, based on their actions and how they've tried to do, I will say that some of the people that tried to slander Trojan back in the day and things like that, and even up to this point, yeah, based on your actions, you're not a good person. You're a pretty shit person. And that's not just inside the game. I'm talking about you personally. So if you're listening to this, I'm absolutely calling you a shit person. And it's getting out of control, and it's getting even worse. And what I've noticed is it's getting even worse as we collectively, as a server, are getting more and more bored.
Correct. Exactly it.
So I'm seeing those, as we get more and more bored. Like, for example, some of the arcs that they come out with that are really fun, if you notice, the ad hominem attacks and all the people getting super butthurt sort of kind of go on the down low for a little while, right? They are reduced because we're actually enjoying ourselves. We're having fun in the game. But the minute they come out with a shit arc or a bunch of crap events and crap rewards, all of a sudden we're back at each other's throats because we're bored, because we're looking for something to do. So if we don't have something to do, we're going to create it in the form of some dramatic BS. Anyway, that's what I got to say on it.
That's pretty accurate. I mean, it's a shame that people can't just, I don't know. I mean, what's the right answer here, really? I mean, I've started even to question our ROE, like the don't be a dick policy. Like, in theory, it kind of works, but in practice, maybe in some situations, it just doesn't. Because then you have to look into somebody's motivation, and that's just kind of a pain in the ass.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why I tell people, we always hate to equate it to real life, but that's the way that we understand things, is that if you look at a law, like let's take any law, for example, and if somebody is going to, like, let's say, for example, it's no secret, I used to, doing government work back in the day. There's a law that states that I had to deal with that says, let's talk about marijuana. And it says anything other than personal consumption. Okay, well that's not something that you has to be quantifiable, because what if this guy goes and buys a pound of weed every few months, and he does, like Costco, and he stocks up for his personal consumption, but then they get caught with it and they're saying, oh, well, that's too much. Well, how do you know that's not for personal consumption? You see what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with what we have going on. When you start talking about, well, this and that, well, don't be a dick. Like you say, well, what does that mean? What is being a dick? How can you quantify that? How can you set that in stone? Because what I would consider being a dick It's not going to be the same as what Handy or Tech or anybody else in the audience, you know?
And therein lies the issue. The fact is that most of us do agree on what being a dick is, but a lot of times we don't, and that's the problem.
And then it comes into hiding behind other things. So when you have, with somebody, I could go and crack a bunch of bases in some low-level territory, and then they'll come back and they'll say I'm being a bully. Now, I absolutely could be being a bully, but what I will say is, oh, I was just seeing if there was someone who was going to shield, and I'm just raiding, and why are you accusing me of that? Now, I'm a victim. You see, right? It's easy. And then the burden of proof goes back to you. Now you have to prove that I wasn't trying to raid. How do you know? You don't know. Oh, well, you never came back. Oh, well, something came up in real life. That's why I didn't come back. And again, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, which is why maybe we need more clear-cut rules. Like, just instead of saying don't be a dick, we just say, look, if you raid, fine. You can raid. You can crack bases, see if they shield or not. But if you come across bases that aren't, that don't shield, then fucking raid it. Otherwise, you're just cracking bases.
Well, and the thing is, at the end of the day, people have cracked my base and whatever. I should have shielded. Well, I'm in TC. Well, the TC isn't like, I'm on base. You can't tag me. That's not how that works. So,
No, of course not. You can be raided in TC. It's just harder.
Exactly. So the problem becomes is like, well, how do we get everybody on the same page? Well, here's the deal. The more rules you have, the more disagreements. And that's the same in anything. That's the same in politics, lawmaking. You start talking about policies for a company that you work for. I mean, the more stuff that is on the table, the more opportunity there is for disagreements.
I'll put it like this. By other teams picking on, basically getting over dramatic and complaining about some of this shit is forcing some of these larger teams to take a harder stance, to be more of an asshole, to be less forgiving.
Yeah.
And people just don't get that. You need to shut your goddamn mouths out there and stop complaining about the little shit. Choose your battles more wisely instead of just complaining about everything. Because the more you complain, the more people don't want to listen, and they're going to start changing their rules and gameplay accordingly, and you're not going to like the outcome.
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind.
Yeah, I think that people want to. The one thing that a lot of people, and I can always tell the type of upbringing and background that people have when they start talking about being fair. Here's the thing: there's no such thing as fair, unless you're playing an organized sport, and even then, it all depends on who the ref knows and so forth. But hypothetically, it should be fair if it's a sport. Now, in sports, let's take fighting for example, wrestling, combat sports. There are weight classes, right? 130-pound fighter, probably 99% of the time, is going to get their ass handed to them by a 240-pound fighter. And it's evidenced by the fact that there are weight classes. Same thing in this game. There are weight classes. If you're a level 30, don't try to play my game, because you're going to lose every time. If I'm where I'm at right now in the low 40s, I'm not going to try to play a level 53's game, because I'm going to lose every time. And I think people need to understand that there are differences in the game we play. And Tech always says this all the time, and he's always spot on. Depending upon where you are in the game, you're playing a completely different game. It's almost a different damn sport. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that when you start talking about, well, it's not fair for this person to do that. Well, life's not fair. Get over it. Quit being a whiny ass. That's just the way it is. I think it sucks that people with these big level 50-something ships can come through and crack my 150, 160 mil defense base in one shot. But guess what? It just happens. It's a different game. It's a different weight class, right?
What's up, JUSTDIS? Welcome to the stage, man. How you been? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys also. I'm a low level player, but I know all you guys from NONA, Dark, Wolf Squad. I'm an ex meld rising member and so forth. I've always been a low level player. When you guys were talking about someone being a bully and stuff like that, when I first came into the game, I'm level 29. I would get attacked by guys, 5, 10 levels higher than me. And I'd be like, well, why is this dude attacking me? Me myself, I'm known as JUSTDIS, or the initials would be FYPM for F you pay me. I tend to attack higher level players. That's just how I play. But it's I'm not really in agreement with people that are always attacking lower level players. If you're not shielded, you're not shielded, attack, test, whatever. But it's just I have a different style of gameplay. I refuse to attack a lower level player unless they attack me first. Me, I'm going after you big guys. It's I feel that I need to earn, I need to be known. I want you guys to be like, you know what? He's a fighter. Leave him be. Or we need to get him over here on our side. But like Strange Kirk was saying, everybody plays differently. It's I heard a day or two ago about Dark and Nona separating ways. I figure it was some type of inner conflict, this and that. I've never been attacked by Chef, but like it was said, everybody knows of him. I don't know most of these people, but I've heard of a lot of people. But my thing is just play your game. There's no reason to be messaging. There's no reason to be talking trash. Just play your game. Thank you for letting me speak.
Only, if only people could actually do that, though. I mean, the fact is, a lot of people's gameplay is messaging, is starting crap, is, going against the grain and starting a bunch of blah blah. That's just what they enjoy. So that's their gameplay. So whatever. It's just the more attention we pay to it, the more we give those people a voice, the more they're going to do it. Right?
Well, and I can understand what he's saying. But another thing that people have to understand, and it's not a knock on anybody, but at Ops 29, the repair bills and things like that. I know a lot of people try to say that it's it's the repair bills and the costs and everything is there's a ratio to level and so forth. No, it's not. It's not. The higher you go, the more ground you have to cover to be able to click the research button to get the resources to upgrade something. It takes longer. So, I mean, that's just it is. And there's a lot more emotion involved the higher you go in the game. Not only because of that, but because of the amount of time spent playing, the amount of money spent investing, and the relationships that you've built and broken throughout the sort of political sphere within our server. So I do appreciate that, and I believe it. When I was around that level, I had a very similar idea, and I still do, obviously. But I also do recognize that as you progress, people that are spending money or just more time and doing all these things, the emotions run deeper and deeper and deeper. Just like anything, the more emotionally connected you get to something, the longer you spend doing it, the more response someone's going to be able to, the higher the response somebody's going to be able to get out of you when they're trolling or messing with you and everything like that. So I do appreciate the point of view, but I do have to throw the caveat in there that it does change as you become higher and higher and higher, and things get more and more expensive, and there's more planning that's involved and stuff like that.
I always monitor the whining in GC as a measurement of who's being a dick. And usually, if you're in GC talking trash, now okay, let me throw my caveat on there. In sports, in all sorts of sports, there's a bunch of trash talk. You know, it's a way to intimidate your opponents. It's a way to make sure that you come out on top. When you're in Ops 53 and you're decimating level 36 bases and talking trash in GC, it's not a good look at all for anybody. So
No.
and unfortunately, with Trojan, that's what I see a lot of. Is he's attacking Die for whatever reason. I don't know what they said to him or what they said about him, but that's what I constantly see in GC. They're like, talk to your admiral.
It's always provoked. It's always somebody did something to Trojan and he reacted the way he felt was necessary.
Right. And unfortunately, the dude has a history of reacting that way. And, I mean, he's just a volatile individual. You know, it's we say things about Key all the time. Key's a volatile individual. He's prone to dropping tags and just destroying everybody's ships. Trojan's prone to doing the same thing. So, you know, I guess it is what it is with the guy. And you know, it's a shame to lose a player in any server. But you know that's like Trojan's gameplay. I don't know what he does as a day-to-day thing. You know, when he was SNA, you know, and he was building his alliance from the ground up, it was kind of cool to see. You know, an alliance become kind of a more of a powerhouse, and then after he left for Eve and came back, I don't know, just it just seems like the same pattern of behavior with the guy. You know, that we all have. We all fall into our certain patterns, and you know his behavior is, I'm the big guy. I'm just gonna go crack bases and do my thing, and so people will inevitably get upset about that.
The main issue he has though is that he follows the rules and still gets beat up about it. Because he does. He follows the rules. He always has.
Except when he gets singled out.
So that being said, he follows the rules. Because I'm just curious now. You know, Donald Trump says he's been trolled nonstop during an event. What sets the guy off, and what rules does he follow? Where at some point he has an explosion, and everybody's on his case. I'm just curious.
Well, it's just like he'll go in and crack literally just 2-3 bases, and then start trying to raid somebody. Gets a PM saying, "Hey, that guy's online." So he moves on to another base. That person wasn't online. And he starts raiding. And then, of course, all MBD's big players show up, start hitting him. And so he gives up. And then, all in all, it was about a half an hour. But we're getting messages in our leadership, and they've got players taking matters into their own hands and flying over and hitting our bases and blowing up our miners and blowing up our warships that are floating or whatever. So they're obviously butthurt about it. When if they had got the full story and understood that all Trojan did was trying to raid, you know, like if any other player had done it, like Strange Kirk had done it, they wouldn't have had that reaction. Their players wouldn't have got all upset and flown off the handle. That's all I'm trying to say. Is that some players get treated unfairly because of their past, and I'm not saying, you know, it doesn't matter if it's fair or unfair, but it is an explanation.
Okay, let's see. Red Eye says, Red Eye, do you want to come up and talk about this? I'm just curious.
Did they start hitting his disco with actual warships during an event?
I think in that situation, there were.
Why do you need pants? Why do you need pants to jump on an audio call?
So I believe what happened with that is Trojan was playing the PvP event, and there were a bunch of explorers, like an enterprise or whatever, sitting in the middle of the PvP area. So I think he blew them up because he sent them PMs saying, "Hey, can you move your ship?" And they didn't, so he blew them up. That's something I've done before, because I think it's ridiculous that people park an explorer that I might accidentally hit with my disco in the middle of the freaking system, put it on the edge like everybody else.
What's up, Red Eye? You got your pants on? Got your pants on?
No pants.
Yeah, nobody wears pants while recording this podcast.
I almost accidentally called him by his nickname on our private server.
Red Eye, your mic's not working.
Oh,
yeah. Now it's working.
Okay.
Right. So I understand, NONA and MBD because they have a history going at it with one another, but okay, talk to us about him clearing all your scouts, and then him. I guess he goes and cracks all your bases in your territory.
Well, we don't have territory right now. We haven't in a couple weeks from that event. But he hit our scout ships. I mean, it wasn't explorers as far as I know. My D4 was there and it died.
So what does that mean? He hit your scout ships. You guys send ships into a territory for a disco PvP event to see what's going on, and then he blew them up. Is that the deal?
Yeah, so you can see the system. That way you can pick where to warp in. I mean, obviously it's harder for us, being average level of the server, to finish the event quicker when you warp in blind to a system and hit a 52 right away or something. So
yeah.
So you send a scout ship so you can see the system, and Trojan blew them all up, which I mean is fine. Like I sent him a PM and just said, "Hey, I just wanted to see the system," and I think it was his responses to our messages that kind of got everyone fired up. He started calling us a bunch of whiners, shit like that. All I said was I just wanted to see the system. I didn't send an explorer, which I posted that in the back room if you want to see that. So,
Hey man, look, you can't. It's like Fight Club, dude. You can't talk about the back room. Come on.
oh, sorry, my bad.
There's a reason I only have select few people in there because most of these folks can't hang.
Yeah, I don't know. It's over now. I mean, it's done in my opinion. So, then, when was that disco event? Like a week ago?
That was a couple weeks ago. Shit.
Yeah. So, then he starts hitting our ships on the way to Armadas and stuff, like hitting floaters basically like, 2-3 days ago. So, nothing for like a week and a half, and then all of a sudden he starts persisting again. So that's when I messaged Handy and I was like, "Hey man, this is going on."
And we talked to him about that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no doubt that Trojan has done things and continues to do things that upset people, and half the time he's the one being aggro, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's just an overreaction on other people's part, expecting bad behavior from them.
Sure.
I would still argue that maybe not in this example, and I wouldn't say that it's maybe not in this example we're talking about, but I still will say, just paying close attention as I have been to the things in which he's been involved, I still say that I still stand behind my statement that the vast majority of the things that he's done that people have really flipped out over, I could have done the same thing, and 9 times out of 10 it would have been met with humor or kindness. Hey, there's no way we can fight your Valdor. There's no way that I can fight this or that or whatever. You win, LOL. You think you could stop, and guess what? I mean, I probably would have, unless you had a bunch of dilithium or tritanium, then fuck you, I'm taking your stuff. There's nothing you can do about it. But because that's the name of the game, right? Nothing personal. It's just I've moved on to a more free to play, and I kind of need those resources sometimes. So, but yeah, I mean, I would still argue that my statement still stands, and so I think that regardless of whether what he did was right, it's clearly if that's what happened. Yeah, that's a bit much. I saw some floaters in the system as well, and I left him alone. So I don't understand the big deal there, but I think a lot of it has to do with the response is where this comes in. I've had people hit my base and then I've responded to them in a joking manner, and that's it. It's 100%. It's over. There's no issue. I'm left alone, or it turns into a friendly conversation.
It's a reputation thing, Kirk. I mean, you're not known for crazy emotional outbursts. You're not known for dropping tags and going hog wild on everybody. I mean, it's just who we are. Not that I say I could, being at the level that I am, but I'm just saying a higher level player that's prone or has a history of doing things of that nature is would probably be more problematic for other people on the server. Epi, what's up, buddy? Welcome back to the show. Happy New Year.
Hey, what's up, man? Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Hey, Epi.
What you got for us, man?
Well, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to give a quick comment, and then I'm not going to stay on long. I just wanted to make sure that everybody just knows that I had a great conversation with Inko. I had a great conversation with TM, which he took on his own to call me. I think I spoke to him at like 12:30 at night for like an hour, back when all this crap went down. And the number one thing that we said that we agreed on was he should be able to raid, and that's never been a question coming from a raiding group, which is MBD. That's what we do. So we'll never tell somebody they can't raid. But it was very funny that his perspective, which I totally get, was that unfortunately when people don't really read announcements properly, or maybe they're not put out properly, is when there's miscommunication, as we find in this show when we talk about anything or in this game, that's where things snowball out of control. But anyway, at the end of the day, I wish him a lot of luck. I'm sad to see him quit anything, whether it be an alliance or the game. So that's up to him. If he feels that's what he needs to do, it's what he needs to do. We ended on a great note. The respect was there. I know he said he carried a lot of stuff over from the past, which people tend to do based on reputations, but we had decided to let everything go and start fresh. So there's no issues that we have with him. And I made that announcement to everybody, and it's been fine ever since. So I don't know. I just don't want hearsay to kind of overshadow what the accomplishment was, which was, the respect was given on both ends. The conversations were there. But a lot of it comes back down to miscommunication and misinformation based on, unfortunately, hearsay. So that's why when I started hearing this combo, I mean, I love your hand and I love some of the guys there, but if you don't know the real combo, probably shouldn't speak on it. And I get it's okay to interject and put some ideas, but if everything's all set and good, I just don't want to stir the pot on something that doesn't need to be stirred for any reason at all. That's all I mean.
Nothing's getting stirred. The main reason Trojan's quitting is more Nona's reaction to his antics, not MBD's. However, it's the server as a whole, how it reacts to him and how he reacts to it, because some of it's on him, right?
Yeah, he definitely said he was, he carried a lot of the anger or the feelings that he had from people who had basically, made him feel or made him seem like whatever they were accusing him of in the past. He brought that with him. So basically, if you weren't on his side, he took that out on everybody. That's basically what he had said to me, which he admitted wasn't right. Because I said to him, even before when he was running SNA, the respect, at least from me, has always been there. And I was like, and you still came and dry hit us all for months at a time for whatever reason. because you took it out on everybody. But bottom line is, I want to go back to what Tech had said. Yeah, there are things he brought upon himself, and a lot of it, which he admitted, was like, hey, yeah, when I respond to him and say, hey, listen, this guy's on, we're sitting here right now watching you try to crack his face in our TC, which we all know is very difficult to raid somebody in their TC, unless they're a very low level alliance, truly just can't fight off or fend off anybody. It's really hard. And you know what? I give him kudos for the challenge. But when I blow up your Novas and stuff, and I'm like, you're not going to get through, and you know that, you just keep doing it to do it, then it starts guarding that line of being the dick move, which he agreed. He's like, yeah, you're right. I was like, I tried to do the right thing. Like when somebody hits me or used to hit me or whatever, every now and then, I still do it. I'll PM you and say, hey, I'm home, because I hate people who play possum. I think that's a dick move in itself. So I'm trying to do him a favor and say, look, I see your 55 Borcha there. It's cool, but he's on. So if you're going to continue, it's like you're just wasting your RSS at this point. So just want to make that clear, but we're good.
For him, it's not about the RSS. It's about the challenge or whatever.
Yeah, I know. He told that to me, and I said, listen, you're a rating guy, and I get it. But that's not why he's leaving. You're right. He's relieving over the responsibility from you guys.
Right. And I think a lot of it was just misunderstanding on his part. Like, we're not trying to tie him down. We're not trying to tell him not to play his game the way he wants to play. But we are telling him to not send PMs that can be misconstrued, or, you know what I mean? Not be an ass just for the sake of being an ass. Like, you want to play your game, but it's against our rules to do it a certain way at the moment.
Right. I don't think you guys did anything wrong in your aspect. I mean, at some point, it's what Inko and I talked about, and I'm not going to go into our combos, but it's like anybody. You got to kind of reel them in from what they're doing, or it's going to constantly be a headache for everybody to a certain extent. But PMs, miscommunication, PMs suck because there's no feeling behind it. So 5 people can read the same thing and read it 5 different ways. We all know that. So, anyway, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody and make sure that everybody knows, we have no issue with TM, and I wish him luck. I'm sad to see him do anything other than play his game. But, if he's willing to give the respect like we talked about, and we were too, I hope he does that with everybody, and I wish him luck. That's all I can say,
Thanks, Epi.
This launches, thanks for coming on, Epi. This launches me into an interesting topic. Let's see, DT says, you should see some of the GC messages I've gotten. You'd think it would be political or something. Well, I happen to know you probably a little better than some of these other folks, but most of your shit is political. Anyway, anyway, this launches me into my next thing, is that how many of you are anxiously waiting for the shoe to drop in a reorganization of some of the larger alliances? Because it's already begun. We're already seeing some of these things. If you think that someone who's spent a small house on a game is leaving a game for good, I think that you're nuts. And I think that a lot of these sort of displaced people, or people that are a little unhappy or bored, I think we're going to see a creation of another larger alliance. And I think that the tree is being shaken, and this is the beginning. What say anyone else?
I agree. I'd be surprised if Trojan stays out of the game completely.
Oh, I 100% don't think he is. He didn't last time. He's not going to this time. He may take a little bit of a break, but then he's going to come back. It's like that crazy ex that you had on and off for years. Just couldn't stay away.
And now she's going to kick down all your doors.
I mean, that's what it is. But when she shows up, I'm ready to go. It's hard to say no. So, So yeah, I mean, I've already been privy to a couple of the conversations. Most of them I've been asked to, to not repeat anything as of yet. And when those things happen, I'm sure that I'll have plenty of things to say. But until that point, I've been asked not to say anything. So, I am actually surprisingly looking forward to seeing what happens with that, seeing some movement, some people maybe being on teams that weren't originally on the teams or historically have been at each other's throats. I think it would make it fun, and I think that we've discovered that in this game, not just server 34, but every server, to keep the server interesting, we have to make our own fun. We collectively, as a group of people on a single server, have to make that server fun, because here's the thing: there's servers all over, from all over the world, different groups of people, and we're seeing that some servers fail and they're having to be merged, and other servers thrive. And to be quite honest, as many problems as we have, if you look at in the grand scheme of things and other servers, we do have quite a healthy server. We have plenty of players. I mean, geez, Pete, you go out to level 47, 48 deep space for a mining event, and every node's taken. So we definitely have plenty of active players, but I feel like that's more of a direct result of us making the game fun. And I think that this is going to make the game fun.
So what are you saying, Kirk? You're saying a bunch of large players are going to create a new alliance?
Yeah, keep on gaslighting, will you?
I'm saying there's going to be new alliances. Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying that there are. Mud says, "What about at the end of the day? At the end of the day, you can eat my whole ass, Mud. LOL." So, I'm just kidding, man.
Great
Or am I?
response.
No, he's not.
Or I might be. But so I think that it's going to be great, and it's not necessarily just big players creating other alliances. I'm talking about other opportunities. And this is hypothetical. So no, this isn't, oh my God, he's letting in on some of the stuff he was talking about. It's not. I'm just pulling this out of my ass. What if, for some reason, Handy and Chemo and Epi and some other people made an alliance, and then a bunch of people from all these different alliances followed to create another alliance? It sort of rebalances things a little bit, right? So that would make it more fun. It would make TC battles interesting, because obviously this new alliance or alliances would want to vie for the territory. So that's going to cause more conflict there. It's going to make it more fun. And just overall, we're not going to have to rely on these ridiculous events that Scopely puts out to breathe new life into the server.
We shall see.
Are you saying that's going to happen, or it's in the works?
I mean, it's in the works and it's going to happen. I feel like those are sort of like kind of saying the same thing, aren't you?
No, because if people are talking about doing this,
So you're asking, is it already a done deal? They're just waiting for the right time, or is it just hypothetical?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. There's definitely some commitment. I have been approached by two different people asking if I'd be interested in two separate groups, not the same people. They're looking to form the same group. And there's a lot of talk, and it's not that I do it. I really enjoy being a Nona. I enjoy the players here, even the players that think I don't like playing with them. I actually do. I might get sick of your shit sometimes and call you out on it, but I mean, that's just the way I am. But I think that it's a little bit of both. I think some people are more serious than others, just like anything. And I think it's just a matter of them sort of, you hate to say like backdoor deals, like it's some shady thing, but I think that they're more anxious in creating a bit of a surprise, like we've seen in the past with the creation of some of these larger alliances that we see today. It came out of nowhere. No one was expecting them, and it made it kind of cool to see that happen, even if you weren't a part of these new alliances as they were formed. So a little bit of both, to answer your question.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Just saying.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be some super profound change, right? Like it's still going to be similar, but it's going to be more interesting.
It's the same people on top with a different tag. It's essentially what you're alluding to.
But it would also give opportunity for people to move around and play with different people. I'll tell you this right now. When I went over to MBD for a couple weeks, I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I was participating in the TC takeovers, fighting people, and just even though it's the same events, same rules, or very similar rules at least, just having different folks to play around and the different personalities, it was fun. It made it more interesting. It's just like if I train, right? I go to the gym and I train. If I get to train in a new gym around new people, it's fun. It's interesting. You get to have conversations with people that you otherwise wouldn't be speaking to. So in that aspect, I'm talking about the social aspect of the game. That's what's going to make it more fun.
Well, let's hope so.
Also, shout out to the everybody in the audience. Got quite a few people in here today. I'm pretty sure Nona and Dark Part Ways was a pretty big ticker there to get some people in here, which was obviously my intent. It was clickbait, but it got you fuckers in here, and thanks for being here.
So what else we got? You got a list, right, Kirk?
Andy's got a bunch of stuff, he says.
Well, I mean, the main thing was... Well, let me look.
Well, he actually does have a list.
Now I gotta look at the list.
Oh, dude, he's actually hand jammed some shit. He actually has it written down.
You mean you don't remember it like I do?
No, I got holes in my head.
Oh, well, while he's looking that up, I'll give you a story. On the TC server, the TC swap server, there was some going back and forth. And I wanted to throw this out there just as a side note, and I promise I'm not going to spend more than like a minute and a half. Some people retain information differently than other people. I have certain mental health diagnoses where a conversation allows me to retain the information, hearing it spoken to me and seeing it performed in front of me, like an actual example given, will allow me to retain the information far better than any sort of written word. Because for a couple of reasons. One, we've even just discussed it earlier. Written word can be taken 5 or 6 different ways because you can't hear the inflection in someone's voice and see their body language and so forth. Also, because of my sort of, I guess I'll use air quotes, disabilities, it's a lot harder for me to retain information. If I read a book, sometimes I have to read the same page 7 or 8 times in a row because I cannot focus on what I'm reading and I cannot retain the information. So just to throw it out there, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but just remember that just because you learn or perform a certain way doesn't mean that that's the best way that other people do it. Anyway, Handy, you got your list?
Hold on a sec. I got... I'm looking at this one MCRN dude just clearing nodes in augment space. He cleared like 5 nodes. Jeez.
So MCRN allows people to hit for data?
I have no idea, but this dude just cleared a whole bunch of people.
I highly doubt that's sanctioned.
Yeah, I feel like most alliances, no matter the level, are kind of against doing that. Same reason why if you go through and see people on Latinum nodes, these people be zeroed out nowadays because it's so easy to mine.
That's funny. Still there. Yeah, still there. I was just mining data for my every other day that I mine it for. Jeez.
I gotta know what you're mining it for. Are you not maxed out? Do you need shards? Or are you using it to get directives? Or
yeah, that's what I use it for. Just directives and the tokens.
okay.
The independent credits and shit.
Yeah, that is a decent way to get the independent credits.
That's like I think at my level I'm spending like 120,000 data a day. So mine 240,000 every other day.
Well, one thing we were going to talk about is why is everybody bored?
Ah, yeah, that well, we kind of hit it in a roundabout way, but we didn't actually pull up and park in front of the problem.
I would like to hear if anybody in the audience can tell us why they have been bored lately. Please raise your hand. No, I've been bored lately.
I have as well.
Don't everybody talk at once, please.
We've got plenty of people in here. I mean, and here's the deal, folks. Just because you might not be a regular up here on the stage, please raise your hand. We're not like trying to. But like this asshole, they just invited up here. He's always talking, son of a bitch.
What's up, Malcolm?
I know the shit that rambles out of my mouth.
Me too.
Have a good holiday. Sound like you did.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. War Wizard has sent me a PM. Not even just posted, but a PM. War Wizard absolutely wants me to hear this and wants me to ask Handy. It says, and these are not my words, so I don't want anybody saying that, oh, Kirk is body shaming or anything. This is coming directly from War Wizard. Ask Handy if he would allow overweight people in a new alliance.
You're such a dick.
You body shaming piece of shit, Kirk. I heard what you said.
Yeah, you can hear my nuts too. Fuck out of here.
God damn it. I told one story in a private chat about this lady that I did some work for. And I just
you did some work for her, you say?
Yeah. I just happened to mention that she was like grossly overweight to kind of set the picture. And so now they keep calling me a body shamer. Oh man.
Well,
My friends will tell you.
well, if it's said on the show, it must be fact.
That's true. Yeah, I'm apparently a body shamer now.
Don't forget, this is the premier podcast for news and science.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. As a matter of fact, some people have even compared us to the likes of CNN and MSNBC.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
That's been said.
And we definitely are better than Fox News.
So back to why are we bored? Occam, go.
Well, I think there's several avenues to explore. I think part of it is Roe. We've over legislated the fun out of the game because so many people want it to be fair. Oh, it's got to be fair.
Yeah, but there's nothing fair about this game.
Well, that's the whole point. So all you're, I don't know, placating the masses, and then you get into leadership, especially in a really powerful alliance, and you're like, you have outliers in your alliance that are kind of doing marginal stuff or straight up shady stuff, and you want them to stop because they're wearing your tag and they're representing you, and you do that, and you do it again a month later, a few months later, and I think that the row is artificially stagnating conflict, and conflict, whether it's pew pixels in the game or the social dynamic of alliance to alliance, is that fun that we make for ourselves, that you have for it to have longevity in this game, to keep your own interest level up, and if you just stagnate things too much with minutia level of behavioral controls on other people, welcome to Farmville.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think too, things are pretty, there's servers that are chaotic, but things are pretty stratified. Alliances are where they're at. You can't really knock them out of there. Moving, 1 point, if you're in the top 10, unless there's a major reorganization and of merging of alliances, or an alliance falls apart and people pick up the players, I mean, moving one spot up the power leaderboard for the alliances, and when you're in the top 10, I mean, it's a pretty big deal. So things are kind of, just stratified.
I think what you're alluding to is the stagnation associated with the vast power disparities we have in our gameplay. So, as Kirk brought up before, right? If you're in the 30s, you play a different game from the 40s, that you play a different game from the 50s, and your power disparities really allude to stagnation, right? So if we're looking at a G4 epic versus a G5 epic versus a G3 epic, they're nowhere near comparable. Like, it's just not possible to compare them. So you kind of stagnate based on who you can play with for fun.
Good point. I mean, I think too many people. So you're absolutely right. You know, the 30s not playing the same game as the 40s and the 50s. But too many people are too concerned about what other people are doing playing in that other power band. Now, granted, to a certain degree, they have to be. You know, if you're in your 30s, and you got 50s and 40s beating the crap out of you. Okay, well, that power band does concern you, but indirectly, I just find they're just so concerned about what's going on in a power band that they're not even in. Focus on your own power band. And if your focus is to get into the next power band, make that your focus.
Do you think that maybe, and this is a question that I may have not addressed it in this exact way before, but I know I've brought it up in some way, shape, or form. Do you think that some of you higher level players, it's almost like that DJ Khaled album cover, Suffering from Success, that thing where you've gone so high so quickly that it sort of drastically reduces the amount of competition that you have as far as the number of people, that it gets a little boring because it's like you pretty much win every PvP battle that you engage in?
Absolutely. If you're in your 30s and you're getting bored and you're like, okay, I gotta find my own fun. Those guys in the upper 40s or in the 50s, they have that exponentially greater. Like for me, my alliance is my fun. So that I had to go find my own fun to keep it fresh and exciting. Me running around killing 54 hostiles, to a 34 player, that sounds pretty fucking amazing. But it ain't any different than killing hostiles, lower level hostiles with lower soldiership. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The grind remains the grind. And I kind of was hearing what Akin was saying. There's a bit that I agreed with there, that people, I do believe, need to look more just into their own level bands. I think people try to legislate ROE based too much sometimes on what stronger powers can do, but at the same time, some of that stuff drives me nuts. You get a lower level player like, oh, I had this 38 miner out, and it had 40k OPC for whatever. Well, does it really matter that me as a 54 hit it and took it versus if a 39 took it from you? Like, who cares what level took it from you? I had use for it. They have use for it. Like, that's just part of the game. You can't start to legislate ROE based on the different power bands, because it's the same thing like what you guys were talking about earlier. That I can't quite wrap my head around how it's a dick move for someone with a powerful ship to continually hit your base if the person's online. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. If the person's online, they can put up a shield. I can't hit your base anymore. Like, Scopely throws shields at people. So how is that a dick move? Unless that person is out trying to hunt on their own, in which case maybe I'm smacking their base because they're hitting my lower level guys. Like, so yeah.
I can get behind that.
It's just not a dick move. It's not at all. It's people that don't want their pride hurt. They're being very prideful and they're not going to make me shield. I'll just keep repairing. It's just that kind of ridiculousness.
Right, and they're allowed to do that, but at the same time, then they have to understand that I, as a high level player, if for whatever reason I don't know what you did, but you've got our ire up, and I want to hit you, and I want to keep hitting you and making you spend that RSS, and I understand that my RSS cost is much higher, but I decide that it's worth it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm also allowed to make that choice. Like, I can smack you all day long if I choose. You're gonna have to at some point either shield or figure out a way to fight me. But I'm not obligated to give up just because you're lower level.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. And again, it comes back to what you said with the shields. You know, that it doesn't matter how big your ship is, you know, if I put up a shield, you're done. I mean, now if it progresses to I put up a shield and you sit there, and every time I try to warp out a ship for that little 4 seconds it takes to warp, you keep blowing up my ships, then yeah, that's a bit of a bully tactic, right? Like I've clearly signaled that I'm defeated. You win. I put up a shield. I'm done. I'm gonna go play my game now. And now you're trying to prevent me from even, you know, going out and mining somewhere or grinding hostiles or running missions or whatever the hell the case may be. I can see that. But as I said, there have been times where I have gone and cracked a bunch of bases just to troll or just to prove a point, you know. But at the end of the day, I've also had it happen to me, and I just put up a shield and put down the phone or the tablet for a little while, and then I come back 30 minutes later and they've moved on to something else, and then I go play my game. And I think that's where it comes to emotional maturity and response.
See, I don't call that trolling. I call that sending a message. Like if you're cracking all of their bases in the territory that are open, like it's rare that that's not being done for a reason, and it's usually not for raiding, because raiding in territory is doable, but it's just not that fun. Which could be a whole other topic of discussion, how they need to make raiding worthwhile again once you get to your mid-30s and beyond. But anyway, yeah, you're making a point at that juncture, and if you're making that point, maybe you have a good reason for it, maybe not, and you know they can fight you as well. But that's how wars start. That's entertaining on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm rolling through your TC and I'm cracking every single unshielded base in every one of your alpha systems, guarantee whatever alliance I'm doing that to, very quickly I'm going to be getting PMs from their leadership going, what did one of our guys do? Because they know that pattern of behavior. You know, I just don't roll through their people's TC and crack their bases for fun. But if I ain't doing it, they know probably one of their dudes said something or did something to one of my dudes. And, you know, and you can say that that's provocative or vindictive, but also it's I find it to be a very effective cool down, because I'm reminding, hey, if you keep ramping up the rhetoric, I'm going to stand by the very unpopular statement I made in our S45 Discord one time. And they were whining, and I'm like, hey, I got a really big stick. Don't give me a reason to hit you with it, and it'll be fine.
Well, there's the thing that people fail to understand is everybody always has this saying that people like to post online, and it's this catchy little thing, is that, you know, money can't buy time. Well, actually, yeah, it can. Money can buy you time. Money can allow you to do things that other people can't do, because instead of spending money, they have to spend time doing it. For example, you know, if you're a multi-gazillionaire, you're not going to be the one going to the grocery store. You're going to pay somebody else to go to this grocery store, which is going to free up 2 hours on your Saturday to do whatever you want. Therefore, money does buy time. So people need to get that out of their head. I say that with the game because for those of us who don't have the money to spend on the game in that great amount, we have to spend more time doing the things to grind for the tokens or grind for the this, the that, and the other. We can't buy those things. So people need to understand that people are, whereas you are playing the same game, you're at a different level. And like we talk about different ballparks. So people saying, oh, it's not fair. Look, man, again, there's no such thing as fair. And I think that people need to understand that fairness is something that it doesn't really truly exist. It just doesn't. Is it fair that some people look better than you do genetically? No, they just have better genetics than you do. There's nothing you can do about that. They're built better than you do. This whole thing that everyone's equal is bullshit. And the same thing in the game. This person, for whatever reason, has infinitely more money than I do, or money and time, or one, or combination of the both. So they're able to do things that I can't do. So when I put myself in a position where I am engaging them on their playing field, and then when I get decimated, I go and I whine about it, it does not make sense to me. You're putting yourself in a position to compete with these people. So the results that come, you have no room to cry about it. It's not fair that this, that, and the other. Well, you chose to engage this person because, as Handy had pointed out earlier, has to do with pride or whatever it is. So because of your pride, you couldn't just say, hey, you beat me, and you have bigger ships, there's nothing I can do about it. You're trying to find a way to win, and you never will. So then you resort to name calling and throwing mud and, oh, this person's just a bully and this, that, and the other. You've put yourself in a position, whether it be directly by your actions or indirectly because you're a part of an alliance that likes to pick fight with bigger people. You're not going to go to a bar and get into a verbal argument with a guy that's twice your size, challenge him to a fist fight, and then the guy knocks you out and then cry about it. It doesn't make sense. And the same thing applies here.
Hey, I'm going to interject for a sec and completely swerve the conversation because we've gotten away from why are we bored to fairness again. But what the fuck is going on with the whole Server 34 Discord and classifying the Meridian as a specialty miner? What in the hell is that?
I think it has to do with
I
people.
don't think anybody even pays attention to that, do they?
Some people do. A lot of people do. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, for example, the Meridian, as a regular miner, is slow as shit. It really is. And what happens is more free-to-play people or lower-level people, they get the Meridian. As soon as they get to deep space, they're sending that Meridian way far out into deep space to mine. And you're sitting on G4 nodes, and it mines at, like, the speed that old people have sex. And people are getting frustrated because it's like, dude, it takes you 3 days to suck down a node. Like, get the hell out of here. Get a real miner and put it out here. Disco your faction miner. Do something. I think it has to do with this a lot more to do with the slow mining. And I think that's why people are getting frustrated because even me, I've said it if you scroll back in our Discord on even here, Jaeger34, where I've said that if you're mining G4 with a Meridian, I'm going to knock you off a node before any other ship. Because it's just like people mining data with a regular miner or putting an envoy on Latinum.
Are people getting butthurt that their Meridians are getting blown up in G4 space? Is that the deal? Or they're not getting blown up?
Some people are. I think it's a mixture of both. Some people are upset, like, why'd you blow up my Meridian? There was this other ship that was zeroed out.
Is the Meridian's warp speed or warp range much higher or something? Is that what it is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Meridian. I think my Meridian is like 100 and something.
So my Meridian right now is a warp 40 ship, and then as soon as I go to 39, and then I upgrade it to 39, it's 85. Like, it's a 45 warp jump for one tier.
So mine's 105. My Meridian's 105, and that is with 2 levels of research for the warp range with the special particle, so that would be 10. And mine is, let me look real quick. Yeah, mine's tier 8 with everything upgraded. I'm just waiting for one more thing to go to tier 9, but I've already upgraded the warp engine, so it would top out at, what, 95? I mean, that's pretty significant. You can get to a lot of places in deep space with that.
I can't speak to 34's Meridian, but on ours, there's also the reverse of that. For the non-territory holding alliances or any player that doesn't have the ability to mine ISO and territory, there's a very limited number of non-capturable systems and a limited number of ISO nodes, and there's not enough to go around. And there's some frustration that the people with Meridians can't get their Meridians onto those nodes because people are dropping envoys or they're slow mining it and tidying it up for long periods of time. And so for us, that's something that we had kind of the opposite.
Well, we've seen it on our server. I've seen it in deep space too, with them putting it on G4s. And the ones that I've blown up and I've gotten complaints about, my response was always, okay, imagine if you had territory and you had, say, G4 crystal in territory, and you saw someone with a Meridian on it when you needed to mine. Wouldn't you be mad at your alliance mate because he's hogging that node for 5 times as long as it ought to be? And I think most people reasonably find that yes, it would be the same as if you had territory and you went and stuck a Devore on a crystal node or something. Like come on, that's not what it's made for. To me, it's crazy when people try to argue that point. Like it's clearly not made to mine anything other than ISO. Yes, it can, but so can an enterprise. It can technically mine. Do you see people using it as a miner? Come on.
Not if they're smart. Yeah, no, and there's a lot of frustrations that come with that. We've had, I know, some GC or some AC stuff. We've talked about even in Nona, some people, and some people are like, well, that's the only way that I can get out there. And I'm like, okay, well, suffer the consequences. I don't know what to tell you. Again, I'm not going to clear a faction miner, and I'm damn sure not going to clear a G4 miner before I clear your Meridian. So it's going to happen.
To me, if that's the only way you can get out there, you probably don't need those resources yet anyway.
Absolutely.
Because you can get a high level tier 3 miner out to G4 nodes.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with a Meridian out there?
Yeah, and I understand. Again, we circle back to everybody should be able to play sort of the way that they want to, but then again, it's just like the whole your freedoms end where mine begins in real life. It's a similar thing here. It's like what you need to do ends where what I need to do begins, especially based on reasonableness. So, and I'm not saying that I'm going to clear Meridian if it's not OPL. Like if you're mining a Meridian and it's not OPL, I think you're an ass, but I'm still not going to hit it, right? Whatever. But if you're like 3 OPL and there's a G4 miner that's like 300,000 OPL, I'm going to hit the Meridian first. Period. I mean, that's just the way that it's going to be. And I'm going to do that because of the fact that when I look at overall who's going to lose the most, it's going to be the other people because they're mining much faster. So you're actually going to lose a lot less than they will. So I'm taking all that into consideration. And it's this same thing people doing overnight mining with really slow miners and stuff like that. It's when you start talking about selfishness, that's just what it is. It's selfishness. And ironically, these same people will preach that, they'll preach fairness, but then when you tell them that mining in deep space with a Meridian, or even G3 nodes with a Meridian, is not fair because you're taking more time to mine, therefore you're restricting how many other people can use that node, then all of a sudden they want to flip the script on you. And now they don't want to talk about being fair to everyone as a whole. They're just worried about what they need. So it's always ironic that those are the same people. And it's without fail, I have yet to run into anybody who won't preach that we need to be more fair and we're being bullies, but it should be okay for me to take up a node for 3 days with mining with a Meridian.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And it does come back to that. You get into this trap of, okay, what's reasonable and fair, and then people will try to argue to whatever benefits them the best. But at some point, you have to acknowledge that there is a reality about what is reasonable and fair. Like, if I go to a public park and it's got swings there and kids are playing, like, am I bigger than the children? Could I technically go and take a swing and then just keep it to myself? Yes. But come on, like, that is a dick fucking move. Like, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Oh my god.
That didn't come from nowhere. You know he did that.
He took somebody's swing.
Not only did he take somebody's swing, is he pushed the kid off the swing to swing.
And he probably looked at the kid and was like, should have shielded.
Yeah, right. It's like what you level 34 looking at my level 50 ass. Get out of here.
Hey man, yeah, I'm just saying.
All right, so yeah, unfortunately, I don't. My disco can't get up in the deep space. Otherwise, I would have been taking everybody's Meridian OPO because can't get my Vidar up there.
There are people that want to be the minor police. Like, that's what Boom was saying is legit. You roll into a system and, all the nodes are full and you're like, okay, is anybody on a 0? Anybody OPC that I can take them out and take the node? And they're not. And you look over and you see some Meridians, you're like, get the fuck out of here. You might pop them and take that node. But consequently, there are people that would go into there and half the nodes could be open. And they'll be like, oh, those Meridians don't belong here. And they'll blow them up and that'll be their justification. And
See, I'm okay with that though.
Yeah, so am I. I'm all right with that.
I like starting trouble, and I remember one of your episodes. It was a while ago. I remember somebody talking about there should be a minimum amount of OPC before you're allowed to blow it up, and I thought that was the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like the minimum amount is already set; it's the OPC limit. Like, why are we setting a secondary arbitrary limit?
No. It was used as an example because we were talking about how, some people, if it's this amount, then that's plenty. But if it's this amount, that's just, you're kind of being a dick. And that's what I was saying. Like, well, then what's the number? I had brought that up. I said, what's the number? You have to be able to you have to, just like we talked about earlier in this particular episode, you have to be able to quantify what is the number. And then people are like, well, that's just stupid. And I was like, well, then it's silly to have this idea that this is too much or this is too little because you can't quantify it. It has to be set in stone. And if you leave it up to anyone, if I only needed 40,000 ISO to be able to do a 3 chest or 4 chest pull or whatever, and I take it and somebody was like, well, there was one next to me that was 400,000. Well, I only needed the 40,000. Oh, well, you're being a dick. You should have taken the one that had more. You see what I'm saying? It's too individual based on what people are doing. So
yeah, see, I would look at that and it's like, oh, I just didn't notice that big one there. As far as I'm concerned, if you're OPC, period, even if it's by one. And some people will say, oh, it's really cheap to blow somebody up, they're 12 over or whatever. Well, maybe, but you know what? Like now you're trying to dictate what I should care about in game. Like I haven't done it nearly as much lately, but I used to top the leaderboards and like power destroyed and stuff. And even though a minor is a very small amount of PD, it's still PD. Your OPC and PD is PD, and you're trying to tell me not to play the game. To me, yeah, any limit other than OPC sounds crazy.
Well, I think what Tech was trying to do was trying to wrangle us because we keep kind of shooting off talking about Mars here, but he's trying to wrangle us to talk about what's boring, and I think it's just
the whole game.
Well, yeah, it's just what makes anything boring. The repetitive actions, the same shit, day after day after day. It's just like I would imagine that it would be really awesome to own a Ferrari and drive it, but after I've driven this Ferrari for 3 years, it doesn't feel the same. It's just the same shit. It's a Ferrari. I have one, and just like in this game, like you come out with an event, and the event is whatever it is, mining or whatever. At first, I'd be like, oh, look at the rewards. It's a different event. It's something different to do. And then after you've recycled that event, put a new name on it, made the resources different, and changed whatever, it's at the core, it's still the same event. And the same thing with TC. In TC, it's very boring because the top 5 or 6 alliances are going to dictate where everybody goes on the board. And it's not because they're trying to, but because you, as a level 10 or 15 alliance, you're not going to be able to take our territory. Never, ever will it happen. Right? So the thing is, like, and even Red Eye just said territory would be more fun if it wasn't taken so seriously. People really flip out about, and he had said something in one of in my private server earlier, where we were talking about it because I had posted a screenshot of people sort of flipping out, and so I'm gonna read it real quick. It said I just I don't honestly care whether we lose or win territory. It's supposed to be fun and a part of the game. The politics and everyone's fear of taking an L have made it no fun. 98% of my alliance was perfectly fine with losing to Koba, and they had fun. The other 2% made a couple whiny comments, and we immediately took care of that, basically. And that's the thing. People are they have to do their max refines every day. They have to do this, they have to do that they've completely, it's not even fun anymore. It's just this automated thing where it's level up, level up, level up, level up, that everything else gets lost in the sauce. All the fun of going back and forth and, it's not sort of like not enjoying the journey to get there. It's just the end result that you care about. And then that's what's happening here. Everybody's trying to legislate everything to where everybody can be as lazy as possible. They don't have to worry about repairs and things like that. There's no risk. They're trying to legislate away the risk. And the risk is part of a PvP game.
Well,
nobody's going to go into a Call of Duty lobby and be like, okay, no one can use grenade launchers. Oh, hell no, I'm blowing your ass up. I'm noob tubing the shit out of you. Like,
No, that's exactly it. Like the game itself, like you can either collect stuff or blow up hostiles as far as events accepted that they add. And sometimes they add interesting things like, okay, it's a new research branch, whatever. So you're actually excited to do those collections or hostile farm. But really, to me, the fun part of the game is still the social aspect and social interaction, whether that's with your own group or also the hostilities you get going with other groups. And people seem to be terrified of war and PvP in the game. I'm like, oh my God, that they're gonna hammer us or what? Well, who cares? Like, you can still pick and choose your battles. You can still have fights that you do decent in, and then when it's time to go and hole up, you hole up. Like something that was said earlier, I don't view shielding up a base as saying, okay, I lost, I can't take it. Like, to me, that's just a big haha f you to the bigger guy, whatever. Like, look, first, which as if like I'm a level 54, and you're basically sticking your tongue out at me and saying, haha, for all that money you spent and you got your big shit, and you can't do shit to me, and I'm a level 38 because I threw up a shield, and good on him for it. So, but I think the fun in the game is still only ever going to be the social stuff. And when you get everybody trying to set their ROE so that you can't hit anything and everyone wants a diplomatic solution immediately to any sort of conflict, uh, I think that's what steals the fun out of the game.
I think that ties into find your own fun. Like, for instance, my opinion is exactly the opposite of what you read there. I believe Red Eye wrote. And that's his fun. There's nothing wrong with that. He wants TC to be lighthearted. And if that's his fun, man, rock on, dude. But that ain't my fun. My fun is how serious we do take TC. We go nuts. We plan. We organize. We wrangle our cats. We get our killers together. We come up with plans. And that's we take it very seriously. And it's an operation when we take a system. And that's my fun. And it's a lot of our funds, and that's why we're grouped together. We're like-minded people, but you got to find that fun in game.
I agree 100%. But I think what he kind of meant was, like, someone should, for example, against us, it would be fun if someone would just come in and challenge us and do a serious challenge. And I think he's pointing out that those people maybe aren't because they're afraid to take a loss against it. But who cares? Like, if you're having fun PvPing, fucking come in and do it.
Yeah. I think Scopely showed the success that came out of the reinvigoration we got with TC for a while when it was a new thing. Was it made all of this intra-alliance stuff happen. And all these alliances were talking and working together. Some people don't like that. They want to fight, one-on-one. They don't want coalitions. but it invigorated the game, and it caused all sorts of the waves to ripple, as it will, on the pond of the server. And they need more events that make alliances work against each other or work with each other, because that's really shown to be it makes things happen on the server. And I wish they would lean into their success.
I think what a lot of people are trying to say is that people are really overreacting to somebody taking their TC or losing a TC, you know, and it's become basically a lot of people utilizing larger alliances to secure their place in TC, because a lot of these alliances, by all means, and nothing against them, but based on their power level and their combat capabilities, they have no business in TC. And a lot of them will admit to you that that is the case. Without the help of large alliances running block for them, they wouldn't have any TC. And I think that's where a lot of people may be getting a little upset. And I see both sides of the coin, because, you know, again, if someone's going to try to, you know, do me some harm, yeah, I'm going to try to find somebody that can help me to mitigate that, or, you know, find somebody, you used the term earlier, with a bigger stick. So if that happens, then I guess, you know, talk amongst your commodores and your admiral and figure out how you can be more diplomatic and get some of the bigger people to help you, or at least get them to stay out of the fight.
That's it exactly. You know, you're saying, hey, you know, I'm up against this similar power level peer alliance. We're fighting over a TC, and they've got the help from a bigger alliance. Well, you need to examine why do they have the help of the bigger alliance and you don't. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with some people are just better at speaking to people, or, I mean, you know, not to sound derogatory, but they're better at sucking ass. I mean, it's just like, I don't know how else to say that, you know. They're better at blowing smoke up someone's rear end. So,
Or they just haven't stepped in it.
There you go.
I can admit that one of my regrets to a degree is you know, we had a major war and we pushed everyone that pissed us off out of territory, and we put in people in territory that had never stepped in it. You know, we basically said, we have no issues with you. We're going to give you this. We'll ensure that you get that territory. And that was fine, because punishing the alliances that had stepped in it, like, you know, they earned the butt kicking they got. My regret is
HTTP.
the regret is the TDP that we made after, which is basically our territory defense pact, that, you know, we'll go ahead and help keep them keep their territory. And we initially did that to, again, just keep the people that we had booted out, make sure they stay out. But it did kind of ruin the territory fund from the perspective of nobody wants to come in and mess with, because all the alliances signed on to the TDP together. So basically, to attack any one territory means you're fighting all of the biggest alliances, period. And so that kind of killed a lot of the territory conflict fun. And yeah, that's an unfortunate side effect of diplomacy.
yeah, and I can definitely see that, because then it's, you know, for the majority of the server, it's not fun anymore, you know, or at least the other half, and then you lose the PvP aspect there and things like that. And I know our alliance, that we help people that, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think we have any business helping. I don't think they deserve any help from us, not because they're not good people, but because we don't need to be doing that. We have a couple of sister alliances. We'll help them, of course. That's why they're sister alliances. But as far as some of these other people, I like them. I think they're good folks and all that. But at the end of the day, it creates more conflict. And it's one of those things where my favorite term lately is this a sliding scale, you know, like, well, how much involvement do you want versus how much crap you're going to get for it? So if you're constantly involved in helping other alliances that really don't have much to do with you, you're not even really allies, and people give you flack for it and start targeting you, well, I mean, you sort of kind of brought it on yourself, you know? And so you're contributing sort of to the demise of the morale of the server as a whole.
Well, moving on. So we kind of know why people are getting bored, right?
Repetition.
Do you think that changes should be made, or do you think kind of just keep status quo in how we react to the game?
I think definitely they need changes. It's any game. You got to keep it fresh. And my opinion is they need alliances to conflict more, events that drive that, and that will keep it fresh because you're getting the in-game bump for excitement, and you're giving the society, the diplomacy, the interaction, whether it's conflict or alliances working together to achieve aims. You get both of those. So I think that's Scopely's path to keeping it fresh.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But there's something we can even do for ourselves too. I mean,
That's true.
Alliances could take a firmer stance and, basically encourage PvP internally if they wanted.
That keeps conflict going. And sooner or later, the more PvP you have, sooner or later, either, one of your chuckleheads or one of their chuckleheads is going to rub up against the wrong person and say something dumb. And, it might go loud. So PvP will always drive that, and, somebody will step in it and it'll on,
Yeah.
So that's what we did for Christmas.
I mean, historically, we try and avoid conflict, right, on our server. And I don't know. I'm curious if more conflict is the answer to keeping people engaged.
It has been for us. I don't know if it'd be the same for you all.
It's like in all things, it's trying to find that right balance because obviously, like our alliance is the biggest on the server, so it's got a lot of power, and that's not to brag; it's more to make the point of. So if we then said, okay, we're going rules free, like just weapons clear, let's go, you're gonna get a lot of people that are bubbled up and are just irritated and they can't get things done, and so encouraging PvP only works to a certain degree, but certainly being overly diplomatic is also not. That gets boring too because then it just becomes, a mining game primarily,
Right.
which so I you have to have that balance. I think in order to make the game fresher, I kind of agree with Occam on this. Is that they have to add in some more interesting dynamics. It can't just be the continued, okay, individuals grind whatever resource, and we'll have an alliance leaderboard. Make some additional degree of interaction that, in some cases will require alliances to band together, and in other cases will require them to be in direct conflict. Like if you can do that, it will inevitably add drama because somebody will always think that they got the short end of the stick, and that will help keep it fresh because this game, it's not a game mechanic that makes this game interesting. Like there's no special mechanics in it. It is 100% the social interactions that make it interesting.
Very true.
We had that same kind of. We had a period where the diplomats were just too fucking good, and conflict would flare up because Chucklehead A met Chucklehead B, and pews or words were exchanged or whatever, and somebody took umbrage on one side or both, and then our diplomats would wade in and they'd have a ceasefire in record time. And good on them. That's their job, and they're doing it extraordinarily well. But for me, I was like, fuck, can't we beat them up for 3 to 10 days first?
Yep, we have experienced exactly the same thing, and I'm the diplomat, and it got to the point where now I've backed way off because I see exactly what you're saying. You know, a lot of our team wants a little bit of conflict. They want to have a little bit of fun instead of just every time there's a conflict, it gets squashed immediately.
Sometimes you got to exercise your dogs too.
Right.
You know.
Let me ask something, because we got 3 whales and kind of like a baby seal here. What, as a whale in your 50s, what's your next step? What's your next goal?
You know, there's always bigger and badder ships. You know, that's kind of the driver. You know, you're always looking at
So which one are you chasing?
Sanctus.
Yeah, same. Sanctus is my next stop.
Andy?
Honestly, the last couple months, I've decided I'm going to stop spending money on the game. And I've kind of let go of my goals.
So your whale card is tanking.
Yeah. To be honest, I have kind of taken a step back from the game. I still play every day. But I haven't been putting in the time like I used to. I haven't been spending any money on the game lately. I've just been kind of shifting more to a little bit more free to play kind of thing.
So you're 52, right?
Yeah.
And how much harder is it to progress in the game at your level by not spending?
You cannot progress without spending at my level.
Like, at all?
At least not in any reason, basically at all. Like, to his point, like, okay, so you want to go up a level, you have to upgrade your gun platforms. Those are taking, I think, at my level, they're like 8,000 or 9,000 G5 uncommon gas. Well, you can refine. You're getting on average, maybe 100 a refine twice a day. Like, it just, how long is that going to take you? So can you technically progress? Yes, but you're talking for him to go from 52 to like 55 with going free to play would take him like 4 years.
Yeah, it's essentially impossible at the moment. But as Scopely always does, they change things. And as other people progress, it'll get easier and easier to do free to play. They'll start giving out more rewards, et cetera, et cetera. So eventually the game may catch up with me. I may decide, in a week or a year or however long it takes, I may start spending money on the game again. I don't know. But for right this moment, I've stopped spending on STFC completely. And aside from the battle pass, I don't think I'll be spending it all in the near future.
So what's then your gameplay going to be? I mean, outside of any goals, like, what then drives you to do the dailies every day?
Just leveling up the things that I can do, research, everything else in the game. I mean, I've got a ton of stockpile of stuff, and I can continue to, aside from building, I can do a ton of research. You've got the new syndicate stuff I can work on. I'm obviously being engaged in my alliance and whatnot is the main driving force for me continuing to play the game anyways. I mean, without my team and my friends here, there's no point in me playing this game anymore, to be honest. So if it weren't for the people, I wouldn't be playing anyways. So, and I don't have to spend money to do that. So I just came to the realization that I can enjoy the game where I'm at now and continue, eking out my enjoyment from whatever I do in the game or with my teammates, and not really worry about progressing.
You sound like a Sia song.
A what?
A Sia song. What's it called? The Cheap Thrills. It's like, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Come on, Sia, the singer,
I don't know who the fuck
song,
that is.
Cheap Thrills.
Tech, did you drink this morning?
No, I wish that would have been fun.
And anyway, well, y'all, we are at the top of 2 hours here.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up and go to the after party.
All right. In conclusion, Nona and Dark have parted ways, kinda. That's really not going to affect them, and the game is boring. And we're anxiously waiting for the newest arc. It's probably going to be Deep Space Nine, I guess.
I hope so.
And you know they're going to screw it up, right?
Absolutely.
For all of you waiting on the Defiant, it's going to be a specialty ship just like the Vidar, just like the Franklin. So go ahead and lower your expectations and get over it before it comes out. Or they may even release it as a fucking skin that does nothing.
God, if they do that, I'm gonna be pissed.
Watch. How much you want to bet it's going to be a skin for the fucking Mayflower? And it'll be like
Mayflower.
it'll be like 5% extra to faction rep.
Oh Jesus.
And then they're going to release an officer like Cisco, and he's going to be like hyper focused. It's like only targetable armadas, Federation level 41 to level 43.
Yeah, it's gonna be they're gonna ruin him just like they ruined the original series Spock.
You know, it's funny. I was just quick side note. I was looking at Riker. I don't have Riker yet, but I noticed his captain's ability is like only for Federation armadas, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're getting. I feel like Scopely's getting a little too specific.
The officers are very, very niche, and they're doing it on purpose because don't want to make officers that are good.
Except
They just want to make officers that are very, very niche and don't work for all situations, so that basically we have nothing to play with. Is what it feels like.
honestly, the Honor Guard Worf series officers work extremely well together.
Yeah, those are good. But other than that,
Yes.
I would argue that probably a maxed out Honor Guard Worf would probably be more valuable, at least in PvP, than pretty much any of the other officers that exist.
Make sure to throw him and your Harrison on your disco for those disco PvP events.
and if you think they're actually gonna make it easy to source shards for Worf, well, don't hold your breath.
No, it's gonna be terrible. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for listening. Everybody for coming up here today. Boom, Occam's, Red Eye, Justice,
Epi,
and Epi. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Thank you everybody for listening. Do all the wonderful social media things that everybody asks you to do. Like, subscribe, comment, upvote it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, and YouTube. Thank you everybody for listening. I'm TechMan16.
I'm Kirk.
I'm Handy.
And we'll see you guys next time.